Hey y'all, welcome back to Georgia Living. I'm Céline Evans.
And I'm Chris Evans. And we have been busy around our house getting ready for the holidays. Part of that is about figuring out what our kids want for the holidays.
Yeah.
And we feel like we've been so out of touch that Céline, you've spent weeks on the phone at night studying all of these trends that are popular among elementary school kids. Mm-hmm. And not just elementary school, but middle school, kind of high school, but it all starts around that.
Well, it kind of blends together because, you have high schoolers with middle schooler siblings or middle schoolers with, it's one and the same in a sense. So, I'm so out of touch. I don't know what's trending, because it doesn't, it matters, but it doesn't matter because things are just things, right? It's just stuff.
It's stuff.
Material. It shouldn't have, when you become an adult, it doesn't really matter as much as when you're a kid. But when you're a kid, of course. So one of the things that I found, which is probably not a revelation to many people out there, is Starbucks. Yes, I've been going to Starbucks for a very long time, but it's not that Starbucks is trending. It's the pink drink that's trending there, right?
Yeah, it is. It is now a status symbol for these elementary school kids to have Starbucks with them throughout the day, whether that be pink drink or like a Frappuccino, whatever it might be, is super trendy right now.
I actually read a article that goes over that, and these kids, I don't think they understand financial responsibility or financial literacy, literacy. They're spending all of their allowance on going to the actual Starbucks and ordering the drinks from the baristas and spending their entire allowances on that and a croissant.
Yeah.
Completely different from when we grew up.
Well, we grew up from fairly middle-class families, right? Yeah. And so we grew up with that lesson of you work, you save and invest, and then you spend, but you spend smartly.
But it's really good.
It is so good. So
it is really delicious.
So this trend and kind of status symbol has given me a new hobby.
It has.
And it's given you some delicious new coffee beverages every morning, hasn't it?
I am the thankful recipient of this new found, I don't know, is it
Café
love?
At home.
Is it a love for you? Do you enjoy doing this?
I enjoy the reactions.
You should probably say what it is,
Yeah.
though.
So this whole status symbol of Starbucks has given me cause to just start doing it at home. So instead of going out and getting the super expensive Philips Cafe, it makes everything for you. I just bought a moka pot on Amazon. I'm making at-home espresso in the moka pot. And now I went out and I got a few syrups. So we got the Ghirardelli chocolate and caramel syrup, and then we got a few other sugar-free syrups to make some mock recipes for the pink drink. And so our kitchen has become this drink. I'm basically a barista in the morning now.
It's like a drink heaven without the cost of Starbucks. So we're not going broke with our kids going to school with a cappuccino.
It's also healthier.
It is because we're not
out,
using the sugar.
We're doing sugar-free on the syrups, but we've also subbed out a lot of dairy. So a lot of times it's not milk we're using oat milk.
Yeah, well, because I'm allergic to dairy, so there's no way.
But it cuts back on the calories every day, so you don't have to feel as guilty having a really nice.
Now, of course, you can order this at Starbucks too.
Oh yeah.
But do I have the time to go to Starbucks and do that and get the kids ready?
I don't want to spend the money.
I don't either.
I can for 5 of us to go to Starbucks. Mm-hmm. If we did that twice in 1 week, I would have spent enough to provide that every day for a month doing it at home. And I'm talking top level stuff. So we're using the Illy Italian espresso, and we've got a little milk frother from we had an espresso espresso maker.
You know what? You're talking this up a lot. I think that you should demonstrate making this.
I've got some photos.
At least like some sort of
Here's what we'll
five-step
do.
tutorial or something like that for everyone.
Tomorrow morning, I'll have you assist me with the camera, and we will get a video together on how to do that. But I do have some photos, so we'll put up some of the drinks that I've made with the show notes on selectrealty.com to accompany this.
Fun.
And then we'll put the video with it. So,
I mean, you are going all out on this. Yesterday we were shopping for school party goodie bag items.
Yeah.
So like Capri Suns, little
snacks.
fruit leathers and stuff like that. And we came across some peppermint sticks because it's the Christmas season. And of course, the first thing you think of is, oh, I could crush those up. And then you got even fancier. You're like, oh, I need to look for the soft ones, not the hard ones.
couldn't find the soft ones. But that is for my hot chocolate. I go insane when it comes to hot chocolate. I make loaded hot chocolates for the kids. So we've got either the Ghirardelli hot chocolate powder, or we've got the Land O'Lakes flavored ones. Those are my favorites. But then we'll also add in the syrups, or I'll put some fresh whipped cream on it, and peppermint sprinkles now. So I crushed up all the peppermint.
And
This
then
morning.
Yeah, this morning you had made peppermint syrup and had, wow.
Made homemade peppermint syrup for lattes tomorrow, and made some more vanilla syrup for our caramel macchiatos. So yeah.
So before all those parents out there that are listening are saying, oh, heck no, I would never do that for my kids. Now, we do have some ground rules to this because we knew, I mean, we're not novices either. We know what can happen.
3 kids.
So,
I feel like a pro.
well, we haven't gone through puberty yet.
I feel like a pro as to where I am in life. I'll put it that way.
Now, yes. So we made the ground rules of absolutely limited menu. That is the number one ground rule is Dad does it because he wants to and because he has fun. But you're not going to pester him with your custom, scarf long orders.
Yeah, I'm not making no half calf, any of that crap.
No.
I'm making one drink in the morning. If you want it, you've got it. You could take it off to school with you. If you don't, you don't. It's fine.
Yeah, which actually the 2 girls wanted water this morning. And then I think you asked James if he wanted a peppermint mocha, and he said yes, and then they immediately changed their
They're
minds.
like, oh, we'll take one of those, please.
Yes, and then they can actually go outside when it's cold. Not today because it's raining, but usually when it's cold, they have their peppermint mochas out there and they're sipping on it during recess. So, yeah, it's adorable, and it's really not breaking the bank.
No.
So, and it's a fun hobby.
It's so much fun, and it has also made the kids more responsible with taking their stuff out of their backpacks, putting it into the sink to make sure it gets cleaned after school every day. Because if they're
they can do it.
If they're either Yeti or Hydro Flask or whatever it is that they have, if it's not clean in the morning, they don't get a drink for the day.
I can't get them to do that with other stuff.
James, he came to me yesterday when I was making it, and he asked if I would make it, and he brought me a dirty cup, and I said, nope. I put his cup in the dishwasher. I said, you'll get one tomorrow.
Really?
I am not messing around with that. You give an inch, they take a mile. I put the foot down. I said, if you want this, this is the rule.
You know, that happened with a lunchbox one time because they kept on leaving it in their book bags. And at one point, our dog, because he has one brain cell, he's a German short hair pointer.
He's the best. I love him.
He's so stupid.
He's so stupid, but in a loving, smart, affectionate way.
Yeah. So he decided that he's going to kidnap these poor lunchboxes, and he dragged them outside.
Oh, yeah.
And we had 2 lunchboxes missing for weeks, and we had no idea. And we didn't even think about looking outside in the backyard, in the corner of the backyard, like under leaves, you know?
These were bento boxes. These were the expensive ones.
Yeah, because they take them to Japanese school. And that was a lesson. But I have a hobby that I've started too. Yeah, it's kind of along the same lines of yours.
Saving money at home.
Saving money at home, but it's a little different. I really like to get my nails done, but it costs a fortune, right? I just can't. I have other things that I need to pay for. I'm a real human being.
Since when?
To keep these up, I mean, that's just way too much money because right now the going rate is for a full set of acrylics in East Cobb, it's about $65 on average, and then you have to tip. I mean, that's about a haircut every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Who does that?
Well, then you got to do the haircuts too.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, it's just, it all adds up.
Yeah. So, I decided that I was going to learn because many of you know that I'm a veterinarian. I'm not practicing right now, but I'm still licensed. And I looked at that and I said, you know what? It doesn't take a doctorate to do this. I bet you I can learn it, right? So a few YouTube videos later, and I was like, oh, okay, I got it. It costs about $130 to get all the supplies, and yes, there was a huge learning curve, especially to do French manicures. But now I'm getting faster and I'm getting a little bit more precise every single time I do this and practice. So it's making your wallet very happy.
Oh, yeah. I am very happy with where my wallet is.
Yeah.
And your nails look fantastic.
Thanks. I like them too.
It's to the, once you get over the smell of some of the chemicals down there, you got to do it in a ventilated area.
Yes.
But I will admit that she's been doing this so much in front of me that I actually did notice somebody else's nails out in public a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, that lady, she needs to get those touched up. And it made you laugh so much, the fact that I even noticed it. But she was typing right in front of me, so I had really nothing else to look at.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I'm really shocked. Anyways, and then I started thinking, well, what about the girls, right? Now, I know what you're thinking. They don't need long nails. It's a hazard. It's too long. What can happen is that they can tear. I've been helping you at the Veterans Day parade when I was trying to get that trailer.
Oh yeah, we were putting the tailgate back on the trailer.
Yeah,
and it slipped.
It actually slipped, and it caught my thumb, and it started bleeding all over.
Almost pulled your nail off. Lucky it didn't.
So painful, but I'm actually happy that it was my thumb and not my other finger, because then it would have really ripped off.
Oh yeah.
But it was fine. So I know that there are dangers with this, but I realized that my children still bite their nails, and I know a lot of adults out there still bite their nails too, but that's like thumb sucking, it's a kid thing, and it's really not hygienic. It's not
a good habit.
It is not a good habit, and so I was like, okay, well, if that bitter nail polish, because that's out there, bitter nail polish to stop the biting, that did not stop our daughter. I mean, went straight past it, just kept on sucking her thumb. And luckily, she stopped that. But as far as chewing the nails, I mean, they were getting so battered and so bloody that I just didn't know what to do. So then I thought, well, if I put these acrylic nails incredibly short, because they don't even go past the fingertip, maybe she'll stop if I make it look really pretty. And lo and behold, 2 weeks, she has not chewed on her nails. This is a win for me.
Yeah, and who knew that all it takes is looking glam in order for our daughters to take care of things. That's all it is. Sometimes it's as simple as, I don't want to mess up the way I look.
They are and I'm so happy that they're happy, and that they're, especially during this winter season where people can get sick. We're all indoors. Not so much in Georgia because it's not super cold, but we still are more indoors than out. And I don't know. I mean, my youngest, Claire, now, of course, she has to have what her sister has, and her nails are short too, and she bites them, but she doesn't leave them alone. So I don't know what to do with her. Maybe she's not there yet.
Well, it's like I told Scarlett this morning. Actually, both of them this morning came up and said, I need Mom to fix my nails. I said, your mother's not doing that every day.
Did they? Because Claire said last night that I don't want these nails anymore. So I guess it's in a mood.
Oh, it's definitely, I mean, she's almost
It's a mood.
7.
Yeah.
There's nothing consistent with anything at the age of 7. It's, I like this, I don't like this. It's the same thing.
I know.
It's just a different day.
I know. Just 1 hour she wants them, another hour is like, Mama, fix it.
But I told them this morning, I said, your mother's not doing that every day. It takes a lot of time. You're lucky that she's going to do it, but you need to take care of it for at least a week.
The one thing that is really nice, though, is that their nails are like little dots, right? I mean, they're tiny, so it doesn't take me much. And I don't mind as long as they learn that biting the nails is a stress problem for them. They're expressing stress through biting the nails, because I asked her when she does, and she says it's when she's absentmindedly doing homework and trying to, she's stressed about thinking about the answer, and she accidentally starts chewing on them. Well, this is so different for her and not the nail that she notices and she stops immediately. I'm not saying that this is a solution for everybody out there, and I'm not suggesting it, just it's what works for us. Plus, I'm not, taking her to a salon. I'm using our tools. It's not unsanitary either. So, yeah.
So on today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of our family traditions in the Evans household for the holidays. But we're before we get into that, we're going to talk about some holiday trends in decor for your house. What's going to stay, what needs to go for 2024, and what we think is going to be carried into 25. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some real estate stuff. We'll talk about service levels, why they matter, and we've got a little story about how one of our clients had a lot of success a little later in the show. Mm-hmm. So let's dive into some of these holiday trends and let's talk about some decor here. So, Céline, what's trending in holiday decor right now?
Sustainable and nature-inspired decor. These are the real wreaths that go on the mantle, the garlands, made out of trimmings, right, mm-hmm. from the tree. I know that you have plenty of experience with Christmas trees.
I do. I ran a Christmas tree lot at our Catholic Church of St. Anne here in East Cobb for 9 years, mm-hmm. from 2014 to 2022.
So, adding dried oranges to it or wooden ornaments that are eco-friendly. And the best part about this is that you don't have to store them. They go out in the trash after you're done, and it's not plastic.
Or they can go to Home Depot, as we mentioned on the last episode.
Yeah.
Where you could take your tree afterwards. You just bring all your greenery.
Yeah, you can do that. Also, rich, moody jewel tones. This makes me so happy because I love jewel tones so much that I painted the interior of our house in a variety of jewel tones. Yeah. Before anyone thinks that my house is rainbow sherbet inside jewel tone, it's not. I promise you. It's well thought out.
Actually, my Facebook profile picture right now shows the green that you chose for the living room and the pink in our dining room with our Boston Terrier in there.
Yeah, so emeralds, sapphires, metallics. It makes this really sophisticated look that doesn't look outdated, and I promise you it doesn't. But you do have to be very, very selective in which shade because it can look very tacky as well. Like, the ice cream that the kids get and it looks really nice, but when they swirl it, it looks brown. Gross.
Sherwin-Williams is great with this because you can go on their website, look at a room, and it'll give you all the color codes for how that room is decorated. And you could take those color codes and just apply them to your own. And it's going to look great because those were all professionally chosen swatches that match together, and it won't make your house look like it's one piece or one color of gray, mm-hmm. right? Choose different colors through each of the rooms. You don't have to have a uniform color throughout the whole house.
So nostalgic and vintage vibes. So these are going to be the retro-inspired ones. Bubble lights, pastel hues, whimsical woodland themes. Now, I've seen when we were shopping for the class goodie bags for their holiday festival or, the celebration, I saw a lot of this around the Christmas section mm-hmm. of Target. There was a lot of pastel there. Now, of course, they had the other traditional stuff because people...
They always do.
Yeah. But the pastels were there. There was metallic there. There's a lot of retro stuff, too, which is so cute. It was around the time when... Crosby started coming out with those record players again. That was retro, right?
We're seeing a lot
few
of
years
those.
ago, yeah. And Also, handmade decorations, cozy handcrafted items, and being an individual, like reflecting that individuality and warmth of it and somebody's care to make that ornament is really into. I know my best friend Meg has a great tree. Her mother has made every single ornament, and it is gorgeous. And she just, always every year is boasting about how beautiful they are. And I would too, because they are so intricate and so just, they look like jewels almost.
They are gorgeous.
Yep, but those are all handmade and something that you would think twice about of even getting rid of ever.
Yeah. We have some handmade ornaments on our tree.
Some.
We made some ornaments from the red and black.
Oh, that one.
Confetti from the celebration at the University of Georgia in Sanford State. No, that was from the pom-poms, the red and black pom-poms they gave out. But we went to the celebration for the first national championship under Kirby Smart in Athens, and we saved those, and Céline made them into ornaments on our tree.
It was really special for us because I went to UGA for 8 years, and you went there as well.
Yep.
For your undergrad degree. I went for undergrad and veterinary medicine, and so they have a lot of our money.
It's also where we bought our first house.
It is. So it means a lot to us. But there was a very, very long gap between our last national championship and then that first one that we had. So it was a really big deal for us, especially, the whole time we were there, we didn't win anything other than a couple of SEC championships. We got really close, but didn't get there.
We were there in the Richt years.
Yes, Richt, and then, And I did get to meet Vince Dooley, too. So, yeah, he was interesting. So anyways, moving on. Maximalist glam. Do you know what that is, Chris?
I have an idea of maximalism because that's kind of the decor that you've chosen for the house.
It is.
Glam, I don't know what glam is.
So bold layers of textures like velvet, faux fur, and metallics mixed with sparkling accent. I did not go velvet. I did not do faux fur.
Ooh, thank you.
I did metallics and sparkling accents, but this is year-round for us.
Yeah.
We're talking about holiday decor, so I can see velvet and faux fur being used for that. Because, the Christmas season's all about abundance and, sparkly and pretty, and I could see that being used. Also statement lighting, twinkling string lights, colorful paper candles, and modern tree colors for a sleek finish.
I see twinkling lights everywhere, whether it's like wrapped up into like a little table piece or if it's hung from drapery and curtains. We're seeing all that trend of sparkly, tiny little lights. Definitely the statement lighting.
I've heard them called fairy lights before.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I think I've heard that from you, not me personally.
Oh.
But you just talking about that stuff.
Are you talking about, there are a few of them that only require batteries, and then there are a few of the plug-in ones. Like LED strips are plug-in too.
I don't know the difference. Well, I know the difference, but I don't know what we have or what they're selling or what's popular.
Yeah, LED strip is like I actually have one in my sewing machine because it makes me see better, but they're not fairy lights.
So, Céline, what are some of your favorite traditions that we do around the holidays for Christmas?
Oh, well, there is one. So there's the Advent wreath, and that is a Catholic tradition where you have the 4 weeks before Christmas, and then you have 2 purple weeks, 1 pink week, and then a purple week again. And the kids absolutely love it because we say it right before our dinner time, and they get to light the candles. And I think have you ever thought about this? I think it's the fact that they get to touch the lighter that's really exciting.
That's all it is.
I think that's what it is.
What I love about it is over the course of Advent, every night we have a reading when we sit down for dinner. We always sit down for dinner as a family. It's very rare that we don't. So we
never have any electronics in that room because there's an absolute
zero electronic policy.
Zero tolerance.
Even for me, even for Céline. And, if my phone rings, she'll be like, go put it out of the room. So
unless there's something really, really important, like a life-changing event, that's understandable.
So we've got this Celtic knot-inspired Advent wreath, and every night throughout all of Advent, we have a reading. So the kids learn the story every year as a little bit at a time from the biblical sense, and they get to do the lighter. What was funny this year that I loved is that we didn't have the Advent candles in time for the start of Advent.
Oh, God.
So the very first purple candle that we used was a Yankee Candle.
I was really hoping you weren't going to say that.
How could I not?
Oh, my God.
Oh, it was awesome. The kids lit it. We had a Yankee Candle burning during dinner. It was great.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I think you just turned a little red.
I did.
But I love that.
It smelled really florally, too,
Oh, yeah.
so it kind of messed with my appetite.
So one of my favorite tradition is doing the fires. I love fires around the holidays. It's the time of year for it, whether I'm burning logs inside in the fireplace or outside on the deck in the solo stove, just hanging out, getting a nice warm drink of tea or cocoa or something like that with the kids, and no TV, just music and a fire and relaxing with no device. It's probably my favorite thing to do around the holidays, other than the Christmas morning, right? That's everybody does that.
All right, I have another one.
What's that?
Collecting nutcrackers.
Oh yeah.
Yes, so we do a collection of nutcrackers, and we've been doing this since we were married. Every year we get one nutcracker, and it doesn't have to be a designer one. It can even be whimsical and funny. I remember during COVID, we got one with a mask on it, and it was a doctor, because we were like, okay, this is our life right now, right? We'll remember it. One year when we were at Disney for my continuing education for veterinary medicine, we went to Disney World, and we found, by chance, a Mickey Mouse one. In their Christmas shop. It was not Christmas time. But ever since then, we've been back maybe every 2 years.
Haven't seen one. We look every time.
So 1 year it was a fly fisher. What other ones do we have? We have the traditional ones.
We've got the UGA. We've got one for Georgia. We've got the traditional nutcrackers.
And they're the regular size, about this, I don't know.
They're probably between 10 and 15 inches, depending upon everyone's different.
And then my favorite one is Ben Franklin.
Ben Franklin is really cool because Ben Franklin is the only one that wasn't designed as like a holiday nutcracker. We got that at historic Williamsburg. Mm-hmm. And it was made by a local artist up there. It was a piece of folk art. So that one actually stays out year round behind glass in one of the cabinets.
He's not Christmassy, but I love the fact that he has this little kite that's decorated, and he's waiting for that storm.
Yep.
Does he have a key?
I don't know, but
I have to look.
We'll take a look.
I didn't look that closely.
No.
He's just so charming that.
I think the important stuff as we go through kind of our traditions is that we involve the kids in all of it. They love it. They help decorate the house. They help put up the tree and the Christmas.
It's a group effort.
One of our Christmas traditions is every year we get our Christmas tree from our church, and we support the Knights of Columbus there, who do a lot of work within the community year round. So we do that. We used to work the Christmas tree lot. To this day, my son is still asking me, can we go back and volunteer and do the Christmas tree lot?
Every year.
And we were gonna this year, but then they ended up starting it a week early because Thanksgiving came so late that we had not planned to have time there. Yeah. So we'll be back out there next year working at least 1 or 2 shifts, and then...
There's plenty of volunteer opportunity.
Yeah.
There really is.
There really is. But the kids are now decorating the tree. They're getting better at it. Used to be that they would just do the bottom section, and then we'd have to spread them all out because they just clump them all up. But 3 ornaments on one.
Before then, when they were even younger, we had a Winnie the Pooh tree.
Oh yeah, we actually put the ornaments like 2/3 the way up to the top, and that way no kid or animal could reach any of the ornaments on the bottom level.
Because that's really all that they did. And if we had them too low, we'd have to continually pick them up and put them even higher up on the tree.
Yeah, we would.
So we called it the Winnie the Pooh tree for a few years. Now they have no interest in taking that off and throwing it places or randomly hiding it so that I can find it in March. Because,
Well, the good news is that we did find an ornament we bought like 1 or 2 years ago while we were in Alaska.
In the couch cushion.
In the couch cushion in Alaska. So we brought that back, and that finally made it onto our tree this year, which was nice. So I love this time of year. I love the tradition. I love that we get to help others. One of our traditions has been always donating to Toys for Tots. We always do a big drive here at Select Realty. We're a Toys for Tots drop-off location, and that's always been a great feeling for us. We've also coordinated with schools in the past where they would bring all of their students and do the drop-off here, and we would coordinate getting those toys to those in need. So we're happy to continue that tradition. And
such a sweet school.
Yeah, and I've been working Toys for Tots since we were in Athens, because we did that with the Athens JCs up there.
Oh my gosh, you were in the distribution center for that.
Yeah, we used to go into the warehouse and sort the toys and label them by age.
I don't think many people know what it looks like inside. Like after you put it in the box, what happens to it, right?
Most people don't, because the Toys for Tots program is run by Marines after service. So the Marines run Toys for Tots on the distribution and everything in their veteran programs, but Athens didn't have enough Marines to run it. Yeah, because it's like a certain, they're retired, and they're volunteers at this point. Okay. So they're not active duty Marines. And the JCs stepped up to fill that void. So we were doing the work that is normally reserved for the Marines that are working with Toys for Tots.
That was hard work.
It was a lot of hard work.
But it was a lot
of fun, and just seeing the smiles on people's faces. They were, as the toys were going off or, being sorted in the warehouse.
I've never seen that many toys in my life.
It's always a great thing this time of year to do something to remind myself, my kids, that this time of year is about more than materialism. It's about time with family. It's about, our religion and celebrating that. And it's also about giving to others and helping at this time of year and being charitable. So I like to do that and then carry that through the year. This is like my annual refresher of good deeds. And then we keep going with that. So that's a little bit about our family. We've got some great holiday decor coming up. But there's a lot happening right now in the news in the community.
Yeah, right down the street at Spalding Drive.
Talk to us about what's going on with these schools in North Fulton.
So, Fulton County has their own school system. And there are 2 elementary schools, Spalding Drive Charter Elementary in Sandy Springs, and then there's also Park Lane Elementary in East Point. Their enrollment is actually declining, and their facilities are also aging. So really, when that happens, it becomes inefficient, right?
Yeah.
You still have to pay people to teach. You still have to keep up the buildings. You still have to do all this. And then there is this goes right back to real estate, a point where you consider redoing it or tearing it down. And very, very similar to real estate. It's all about cost. And so the problem is that Spalding Drive Charter Elementary is a really good school. I'm not as familiar with Park Lane Elementary, but Spalding Drive is really right in our backyard in East Cobb, because we all intermingle together.
Yeah, Sandy Springs is about 10 minutes one direction. Roswell's 10 minutes another direction. So kind of East Cobb, Sandy Springs, and Roswell are all one kind of market. And the only difference is that county line, really, between Cobb, and Fulton.
Or my funny name for it, the pizza wedge of desire.
The pizza wedge of desire.
Oh, I love it, pizza.
Basically anything 285 and 400, or 75 and 400 in the pizza wedge.
It's like this. It's very simple.
Yep.
But the parents are really rallying to keep these schools open. They are trying to think of solutions like open enrollment and private funding. But really, there are a lot of concerns because in America, property values are tied to the school system. Mm-hmm. Especially so in East Cobb. So many people move here to be in the Walton, Lassiter, Pope district. And so, depending on your definition of East Cobb, some people stretch it a little bit more.
Land values can jump between $50,000 to $100,000 depending upon the school district for a comparable home just in a different school district. Because you don't have the ability to just choose your school here. Your school is chosen based off of where you live.
And it's a really big deal for your home because what if this school is no longer existing? Then what happens to the value of your property?
And that's what the community is worried about right now. Mm-hmm. Because if I understand this correctly, they're talking about consolidating Spalding Drive with another school nearby. Which is not as desirable. It's not, performing as at the same level, which might make a big impact because on the article or you saw this on TV with Fox. What was it? Good Day Atlanta?
I think it was Good Day Atlanta this morning.
And you saw locals talking about, like, if this happens, we might be considering where either.
They wanted to explore their vicinity. So obviously East Cobb, because we're neighbors. And then Alpharetta, because that's the other side, if you just go in a radius. And it's a really big concerning problem for them because what do, right? I mean, a lot of these people will move into these districts and send their their children to these schools in lieu of a private school education.
Yeah.
Last I checked, private school education for upper school, which is high school, is about $30,000 a year.
That's at the school you went to when you were younger.
Yes, Walker School. Lower school is about $26,000 a year. And so it's nothing to really... It's a big deal. If you have 3 children in the Spalding Drive Charter Elementary School District, 3 times 30. Just in tuition, right? Without
any scholarships or, financial incentives that the school can offer, which they do.
There is one. There are a few. Yeah. It's called the Promise Scholarship Program, right?
Yep, that's one that's relatively new.
Yes. And then so it's a $6,500 voucher program for students in lower performing schools. Now, this does not touch Spalding Charter because it's not a lower performing school. And really, you can't just apply. There is an actual list that the state comes out with, and they stick to that list.
And they did publish that list, but right now, when we went to check this morning, the state has taken that list and unpublished it while they're verifying the accuracy of the list that is published.
Right, because it's based on income, school performance, and other factors. I don't think they disclose all the factors, do you? Maybe?
Usually they do because this is a state-funded grant.
Oh, right.
But they're going to tie it to some sort of an index. So usually when they disclose things like this, it's going to be, income has to be a certain percentage of the poverty level. The school has to be performing at a certain percentage of, what is an acceptable pass rate, or at a certain performance level. It has to be in the bottom part of that. So that's...
But really, $6,500, right? And like I just said, $30,000 is what 1 year of education buys you in private school around here. Is that going to make a dent?
I don't know. Probably not.
I guess it depends on the school, right?
But you also have to factor in that a lot of private schools do still have, they have a financial aid office, and they do have financial support for qualifying students. They have to give a certain percentage of aid out every year. So if somebody is in that certain percentage of the poverty level, that might fill the gap to cover private school after hardship or cost of living adjustments if they're approved through the school.
Maybe. I mean, that's different from scholarships.
Totally different from scholarships.
A lot of them don't have scholarships.
And full disclosure, I have never chased that rabbit down the hole. We've got 3 kids. We considered what it would be like to go to private school. We ended up here in the Pope High School District because we didn't want to deal with that. We just wanted them in great schools. But I do know that, like Blessed Trinity, Queen of Angels, if you have multiple kids, and they will work with you on the pricing to try and make that more affordable depending upon what your income level is, because they're not, at least from my perspective, these private schools are not these greedy institutions. They want kids to get a good education, and that's why they exist.
Well, there's also specialty too, like dyslexia specialty and like school for the deaf as well. Cool. So there are legitimate reasons to send your kids to this. We just decided to be in the Shaliford Falls because we love that school. And it's the same with Murdoch Elementary, Garrison, Rocky Mount. There's all of these schools are wonderful.
Yep.
And we didn't have a problem with it. But, hey, advocates of this Promise Scholarship Program are absolutely in love with it because it does empower parental choice. But remember the asterisk, is it going to make a difference in the $30,000? I'm not so sure. And then the critics argue that it diverts funds from public schools and disproportionately impacts minority communities. There's an argument there too.
Yeah. So if the child is not going to the school in their district and they are using this to get into a private school, that $6,500 is money that could have gone towards the public school if that kid was there.
Yeah, that's a big chunk of money. Or, that $6,500 times how many could have fixed up Spalding Drive Elementary.
I don't know how all that plays out.
I don't know either.
But
not my place.
It's definitely an interesting fight to watch and to see evolve within our community, because these are our neighbors, so we're keeping an eye on this. Because if this does end up closing down, and these folks do look for another district to go into, the pretty obvious choice is either to head up, stay in Fulton County, and be in the Alpharetta, Johns Creek area, or coming a little bit over here to the west.
Come to us. We have lower taxes, way lower.
Our taxes are so much better than Fulton County. So there's that. So lots happening in the community. A few weeks ago, we talked about our Simply List product, our Simply List line, which allows for homeowners to sell their home by owner, either with or without assistance. It's a limited service arrangement. Limited assistance. And we also talked that we do full service as well. And I wanted to share a story from a recent client that we had that talks about how both of those can work. Because this market, as we mentioned last week on the data of the market, homes are sitting on the market longer. They're requiring more effort to sell. It's not like 2020 mid-year through 2022 mid-year. In those years, you could put any home on the market and it's going to sell, and it's going to sell for over ask. This is not that market. It's also not 2016 to 2019, where it's not that hard to sell a home. Things are moving. Things are continuing at a steady pace. Right now, it takes a lot of effort. It takes marketing, it takes thought, it takes a clear package, and it takes something that's going to entice a buyer to come out. So we had a seller who's former realtor, by the way, in a previous life. And she's been retired for a little while, about 12, 15 years. She listed her house using Simply List. And the first weekend, she had an underwhelming open house. She wasn't getting as many showings as she thought she would. And she ended up going and finding the perfect house where she wanted to be. She was retiring. And it was out of state. She put a contract on that house. So then the worry started setting in for her because she doesn't have the traffic. She wasn't getting the offers. So we talked about full service. And in her listing, what she did is she did her photos. She did all of the marketing. She submitted it to us. And we put that out there on Simply List. It was just copy and paste, whatever owner provided information. On the full service side, we took that to a whole new level. We did a kitchen sink approach. We threw everything at that property, including the kitchen sink. We went through and did the full 3D tour, professional high-end photography. We did a video tour of the house. We did the
narrated
video tour.
Not just regular.
Yep. This is something like it looked like it was HGTV, right?
Chip and Joanna Gaines. Hi.
Yeah. And what else? We did the floor plan. We ran an ad budget behind the listing. So it wasn't just that we were advertising that on the MLS. We put an ad behind it. We were targeting our database. We were doing all sorts of fancy technical stuff on the listing. And then we were doing open houses. And we did a double weekend open house. So her first weekend was underwhelming. She took it off the Monday or Tuesday after the first weekend after talking to us. And 5 days later, we had that ready to go. We brought it back on the market, I think the Tuesday after the second weekend. New photos, everything was done. We did our blast. We had an open house doubleheader weekend. We brought over 30 couples or 30 people to that open house. And ended up that Monday after the open house, we had multiple offers. She accepted one that met her budget, her timeline, and 2.5 weeks later, closed on the house. Everything was great. She got to go off and do her double closing in the other state and settle down easy peasy. That it's not to say that Simply List doesn't sell homes, because they do. But in this market, it does take a little bit more effort to sell a house. Mm-hmm. If you take some photos and stick it up there, it depends on where your house is, how it's priced. You might have a diamond in the rough and somebody's going to come in and swoop it up overnight.
Right.
But if your home is just like everybody else's in the competition and buyers have multiple to choose from, what is the story that is going to get that buyer to purchase your house over everybody else's?
Well, I'm going to throw a wrench into this because we had a, NAR settlement, National Association of Realtors, with the Department of Justice, and that the rollout of it, if you remember the news articles, it was very misleading to me if I were a consumer. And I'm saying misleading because a lot of the times it sounded like the headlines were saying that buyers' agents are no longer necessary or get paid, or it was a lot of mixed messaging there, right? Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. And even shortly after, we were having people contacting us as the listing agent saying, I'm not going to work with a buyer's agent.
Right.
And we're like, that's not smart, but okay.
No, because then the seller's agent controls everything, and that's, but...
Got some stories on that, too.
Yes. Yeah. And there's some people like that before this judgment, too. It just got a lot of publicity, and that was the main thing. The settlement really wasn't about that. The settlement was about transparency.
Yes.
It wasn't about paying them less. It wasn't about that. But of course, the media didn't spin it that way, right? So to us as agents, it's a lot more paperwork. It's a lot more do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. But it's technically the same world that we've been playing in. However, because we are in a market where sellers are really tight, buyers are really tight. Everyone's stretched their max because of all this rate hike and quantitative tightening. And we're right now in quantitative easing, but we're at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
So we're still at the very close to the top of the mountain as we were in terms of rates. So that also means that you try to negotiate everything, right? What's the one thing that they're going to try to negotiate on, given that the DOJ just had their settlement?
Oh, it was all commission, without a doubt.
Yeah. So in about maybe 1 in 10 out of the deals that I've seen, I have seen that the buyer themselves decide that it is worth working with their agent because they are smart. They understand the worth of their agent. They understand that they're hiring an advocate for them in an unknown world, a guide, right? Who's going to, hopefully, if they're worth it, walk them through the purchase, understand the pitfalls of everything, and make sure that they spend the most, they get the most for their money.
Oh, yeah.
Out of all of that. There's so many things that you wouldn't think of if you aren't in this business, that day in, day out, that you could potentially, it's like a trap. So understanding these contracts really is number one. These people have deemed that it's worth it to work with the buyer agents. So about 1 in 10, I've seen the buyers coming out of pocket and making up the percentage that the seller is not offering. Maybe you can put that into different words.
Yeah, so I could try.
Maybe a little bit different of how it works and like.
Yeah, so when you were mentioning transparency, the whole idea of this settlement is that if you're a buyer, you have the right to negotiate how much your agent is working for you for. Very first and foremost. Now, in the state of Georgia, we have a law called BRETA, which has always required the brokerage agreement to be in writing. And if you don't have that signed before showing homes, you would have had a customer relationship, not a client, which would have, there's lots of legal mumbo jumbo about it, but it allowed for agents to show that home a few times before signing them. So that gave you, the consumer, a trial period, right? You could find an agent, have them show you 3 or 4 homes. If you like that agent, you can decide to work with them. If you didn't, you move on and find somebody else. Now, the NAR DOJ settlement requires the buyers to find their agent before they start shopping. And this is important because I was just reading a Reddit thread on in the realtor section the other day where a consumer posted that they went out touring new construction homes over and over again and found the neighborhood and the style that they liked, and then they wanted to engage a realtor, and the builder said, you can go ahead and hire whoever you want, but you're paying for them, because a builder's job is to pay an agent to find the buyer, but the buyer already found the property, so they don't want to pay them now. It's a difference in value proposition, because a buyer's agent is not going to bring value to the builder other than the buyer. They're going to bring value to the buyer's agent is going to bring value to the buyer by helping them guide through that process. So the buyer values their agent differently than the seller does. Now, where this is today is when you sign that agreement with your agent before you start touring homes, you have the ability to negotiate how much they're going to get paid. And whether or not they can get more than what they're getting paid based off of whether the seller has contractually agreed to pay more or not. So for instance, if Céline, if you hire me and you hire me at 2.5%, but the seller's offering a 3% commission, the contract that we sign would determine whether or not I can get paid that 3% or if I have to give that 0.5% back into the deal because I'm capped at what I can be paid by our agreement. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to a lot of the transactions that we're seeing right now, about 1 in 10, the buyer is bringing about 0.5% to the table. So about 10% of the transactions, the buyer is going to cover about half of a point. So for a $300,000 home, what's that? That's $1,500 added to their closing costs. For a $500,000 home, it's going to be $2,500.
That can make a difference.
It can. Does it fall within the budget for most? Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Is it inconvenient? Yeah, it would have been nice to just wrap that up into the transaction. So if you're a buyer, the way that you look at this is the big picture. How much in concessions are you getting? Right? Is the seller saying, well, we're going to pay your agent, but we're not going to give you any closing costs? Or is it that we're not going to pay your agent, but we'll cover all of your closing costs? Or maybe it's a combination of both. We'll cover most of your agent's fee, but we're going to cover all of your closing costs, in which case you run the cost benefit analysis and figure out if it's within the budget. As with every home purchase, if you're going to be a savvy consumer, you make sure that the house is a blessing, not a burden. You go through those numbers before you go under contract, or at very latest during your due diligence, and make sure that your earnest money is protected, and that if you're uncomfortable with that transaction for any reason, you terminate and you walk and you get your money back, because it's your responsibility as a consumer to understand what your costs are going to be.
And all these people that are moving from Spalding Drive, hey, call us.
Oh, we'd love to help you relocate in East Cobb.
Absolutely.
It's our home. We love it. It's everything to us.
Yeah. So next episode, a little preview, we'll be diving into preparing your home for the spring market, because it's coming. And can you believe it?
Oh, no.
We're already thinking about
2025. I've been channeling our inner Sam Zell for the last 4 years. Survive until 25 in real estate. And here we are. Almost there.
And we'll share Georgia's best post-holiday events to kick off the new year. We do quite a bit after the new year.
Yeah.
Even during the new year. I mean, there's a lot to go on.
There's always something happening around here. We love it here. We hope you do too.
Yes. So share your real estate and holiday decor stories, or ask questions for future episodes. We'll answer them as long as it's appropriate.
Absolutely. And make sure, if you haven't already, follow us, hit that like and subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. We syndicate, so it's everywhere.
We're on YouTube too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can see our faces if you're listening to us.
Yeah. And or you can find all of those links right on selectrealty.com. There's 2 L's in select because we know how to sell.
We look like Chip and Joanna Gaines from East Cobb.
You know, that our clients have told us that before.
I know.
Just random
that's
people
the
at an
joke.
open
That's
house.
the joke.
I should grow my hair out.
A little bit. Bit. I need to have wavier hair.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.